What's going on, guys? Welcome in to the stream. I see a lot of people in the chat already, so I guess I should have done a mock draft, live mock draft a long time ago because people are hyped for this one. Happy to see you guys here on this Saturday afternoon. Hope you're having a good day. I hope your brackets are doing well. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. The only college basketball player I can name is Cooper Flagg, so I have no idea what's going on in March Madness, but I hope you've been enjoying it. If you are watching, I've got some people in the chat I gotta call out here. We got Scoots here right away. Couldn't be more back. Absolutely right. I saw he just signed up to become a YouTube member. That's pretty awesome. He leaves some of the absolute best comments on YouTube. I always enjoy seeing them. So excited to see you in the members group. Hope you're on Discord as well. You can jump into the chat later. We've got one of our other members here. Clax is welcome, ready for the draft. Cordtrix is here. A lot of people looking to grab some spots. What's up, Austin? One of our longtime members here. HM, another longtime member. Hope you guys are excited. We're going to be doing like I said, a live Dynasty startup mock draft. We're going to get started here in like just a few minutes. Just so you know, this is going to be kind of first come, first serve. So I'm in here. I have the 12 spot. I'm going to post the link in the chat, pin it, and you guys can jump in and grab spots. Obviously, not everybody's going to get a spot. I hope you get a spot if you're looking to jump in and participate. But otherwise, you're going to get to follow along. I'm going to add some commentary throughout the draft. I won't be able to talk about every single pick, but just kind of, what trends I'm seeing, what picks I like, don't like. And we're doing this with rookies, which is going to be really interesting because I have not done a single mock draft that includes rookies. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they get mixed in here. And as I'm looking at this, where are my rookies at? Oh, there they are. Okay. I can see them in the player pool. So we got rookies mixed into the player pool. We're going to need to, try to figure out how to value those guys properly. That's going to be a challenge for me as well. So it should be a little bit wild, should be unpredictable, and hopefully a good time. So let's see who else we got in here. We got James here with an interesting, is that a dragon emoji? It's kind of cool. And a few people looking to jump in. So going to go ahead and post the link here. Like I said, then we'll switch over to the view where I can put the draft board on the screen. And then I've got my laptop over here along with my two monitors, so I can see my rankings, and I'm probably going to just be drafting off of my phone. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, startup mock draft, 12 team, super flex, PPR, tight end premium. So going to be interesting. Let me go ahead and post the link. You guys can jump in and start filling this thing up. Let me switch over to the other view. Hopefully it's still formatted good. Yeah, it looks good here. All right. So here we go, guys. Hope you're ready to click pretty quickly here because I'm throwing this in. All right. This is going to be a 15-round draft, just to keep it kind of, time. Keep it limited on time. Obviously, there are players worth drafting outside the top 15 rounds, but it gets much more into like dart throw territory, and it's a lot less, picky between players and stuff. So we're going to keep it to 15 rounds, keep it short and sweet. Plus I can fit everything on the screen here. So that's what we're going to go with. We are getting filled up here pretty quickly. It's not showing up on the screen though. So hold on just a second. Let me try to figure out why that's not showing up on the screen. There we go. All right. This is a whole new experience for me, trying to manage a draft while also giving commentary. It's going to be an interesting time. I'm just trying to fix this because the cropping is bothering my OCD. All right. So here we have in the draft, we've got C Zapper at 101, Chris Kepner 102, member Can't Catch Clocks at 3, BD Reaper at 4, GH Rail at 5, another member Austin at 6, Chris Mazza at 7, FP Flex at 8, Fernandez at 9, Cortrix at 10, Arlen at 01, Arlen 01 at 11, and then I'm at 12. I figure I'd just take an end so that I can make my picks and then just focus on the draft for a little while and not have to worry about being on the clock. It is going to be a 30-second clock, so you got to get your picks in quickly. And you can see the settings are listed there at the top of the screen. Now, if I have set up my display here correctly, my team should populate on the left side as we go. We're going to get started here in about a minute. Just want to direct your attention right before we start to a couple of links down in the description. So just if you are interested, I already promoted it in the last video, so I won't take long on this, but I am kind of pushing the Dynasty team breakdowns right now. If you're interested, getting ready for rookie season, people are starting to kind of come out of hibernation a little bit in their leagues, maybe want to make some trades. So if you're looking for any kind of advice on contending, rebuilding, filling needs, who should you target in the draft, whatever, you can pick up a team breakdown. Those are available on the link in the description. And if you want to get a discount on a team breakdown, you can become a YouTube member. That's the other link down there. YouTube members, as of a couple of days ago, now get $5 off team breakdowns. So if you are interested in getting a breakdown, you can just become a member and basically get a breakdown or get a month of membership for free rather than paying the full price for a team breakdown. And that comes with top 200 Dynasty rankings, weekly private live streams where I answer questions and stuff, and private channels on the Pure Potential Discord where you can talk to me, bounce trade ideas off of me, and talk to our other members who are frankly pretty awesome as well. So anyway, that's that. We're going to get this thing started here, and we're going to let the chaos ensue. So let's go ahead and see what happens here, guys. Good luck to you in the draft, and hopefully you'll stick around for the whole thing and actually make your selections just for the integrity of the draft, because the auto pick on Sleeper is kind of a mess. All right, let's do it. All right, our draft is underway, and then let me just make sure we get this pick clock up on the screen. Yep. And we are off and running with our picks. Right away, we got the 3 quarterbacks off the board. That is pretty standard, with Allen, Daniels, Lamar. Typically goes Daniel or Allen in some order, followed by Lamar, and then we get Chase, Bowers, Jefferson. A little run on the skill players there. This is tight end premium, so I think Bowers at 5 is like a totally reasonable pick. We got Burrow at 7, Hurts at 8. So this is pretty, pretty chalk so far, I'd say. These are usually the guys you see come off the board in the top 8, and then it starts to get interesting. I guess I got to get my picks ready here coming up on the turn. We get Lamb and Neighbors 9, 10. A couple more wide receivers here that I really like. Bijan goes at 11. All right, so for me, I'm going to go ahead and lock up a quarterback at 12. I'm just going to go ahead and take, the GOAT. I'm just going to go take Patrick Mahomes. I know it hasn't been super exciting the last couple of seasons, but he is still that guy. He's capable of getting it done any given Sunday. I think he's got an extremely high value floor, and top 5 scoring still totally there for him, at any time. I think we could see that. Maybe the defense takes a little bit of a step back, something like that. Still a top 12 super flex asset for me. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my next wide receiver ranking, Puka Nacua at 201. I think you can really prefer Lamb, Puka, Neighbors, Brian Thomas in just about any order, and it's defensible. I personally have Puka ahead of Brian Thomas, just ahead, same tier, and I'm going to grab him, especially, knowing that Stafford is sticking around. Now, this is 3rd round reversal. That is the one thing that I forgot to mention. I typically treat 3rd round reversal kind of like the default. I think it's more fair for the back end of the draft, just given how strong Allen, Daniels, and Lamar are as picks for the first 3 guys. Reversing that draft order in round 3, it does a little bit to even things out. So I am going to get the first pick in the 3rd round here. Promise I didn't set that up just for my benefit. I just think it's, again, I think it balances things out a little bit. So we will see how that changes the equation, but it's gonna jump back over to me after the 212. We're finishing out this tier of wide receivers with Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas, and Nico Collins. Those are all guys I think that deserve second round consideration. Then you have McBride going in the second, Drake May, and then Ashton Genty, our first rookie off the board, 209. That's probably right about where he belongs. Maybe you could argue a couple picks earlier for him. Super duper high upside for Genty. Love that pick for sure. London at 210 is also solid. And I'm going to be up here again in a second with some choices to make. Time running out here on Chris. Looking for his favorite option here, Ladd McConkey, Caleb Williams. All right, so that's going to bring me back up here at the 3-1. And give me a few choices. That was really the end of a tier for me. So, you know, knowing I can't really trade. So I'm going to do something here I probably wouldn't normally do. Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take CJ Stroud here. And I definitely don't love that. Not my favorite choice, just because it kind of locks me in a little bit with my quarterback strategy, where there's an area of the draft I'd like to attack quarterbacks. And, you know, now I've got two, so I'm probably going to be looking at a different position. At the same time, I was kind of cleaned out on skill guys that I would be interested in adding there. So we'll see a few of those names come off the board that I would have had next up. One of them was Marvin Harrison. Just couldn't quite get there for me over Stroud. I don't know, maybe if I had a little longer than 30 seconds to mull it over, I'd consider that. But, you know, Marvin Harrison, there's a few other guys here I think that are willing, that I'd be willing to take at 301, but nobody that I absolutely loved the value on. In hindsight, I guess I could have taken two wide receivers to start, maybe gone Brian Thomas and Puka Nacua, and then gotten Stroud as my QB1. But either way, you know, I'm fine with it. I can always make trades after the startup is done. Not in this case because it's a mock draft, but in general, I'm fine just taking the guys I think are the best values. Now, interesting pick here. We get Love at 304, and then we get Omarion Hampton at 305. That is sort of the presumptive 102 right now in rookie drafts. Highest I've really seen him or the 102 pick go, though, in a startup ahead of Saquon Barkley is interesting. I think it's reasonable, but it's interesting. JSN goes in between those two running backs, and then we get Ted McMillan as our third rookie here at 308. So the rookie fever is going strong. And we have some cool little starts going here with Bowers, May, McMillan. That's kind of fun. Jefferson, Collins, Barkley is a pretty strong group to start with. Going to have to add some quarterbacks here. I think you've got some good options coming around to you. I'm a little jealous of some of these starts, to be honest with you. But they are fun to see. I think pretty much you can get a really good looking team from any spot, at least through the first 3 or 4 rounds. I wouldn't say that like you need to be at one end of the board or the other right now to build a really nice looking team. We've got these running backs going kind of early, though. I'm a little surprised with the Achane and Bucky Irving picks ahead of A.J. Brown, who does finally come off the board at 311. Then we get Garrett Wilson at 312. There's a guy on the board here that I think sticks out as a really clear value, is 8 or 9 spots ahead of my next highest ranked player. It was not Rashee Rice, who goes at the 4-1. So we'll see what becomes of this guy. We got Brees off the board at 4-2. I think that's good value as well. You know, I said I would trade the 104 for Brees Hall. Well, we have 3 rookies off the board, so the next rookie would be the fourth. I like getting him, you know, after Bucky, after Achane. I think that's a totally reasonable spot for him. You know, if you can get your RB1 and Brees Hall in the 4th round, I think that's kind of fun. You know, you can start with 3 other positions and still get a really high upside running back there at 4. Brock Purdy goes off the board at 404. First quarterback for BD Reaper. Michael Penix at 4-5. Kyler Murray, there's the guy. Good pick, Austin. I love that pick. Kyler Murray at the 4-6 after Penix and Purdy is frankly a little bit insane to me. Good value there to get Jefferson, Collins, Barkley, and then followed up with Kyler. I think that is my early favorite. You know, we'll see how it goes throughout the draft. That's my early favorite start amongst these drafts so far. I think that's a really good pick. Thankfully, it's not a real startup for my sake. So I'm coming back up here soon at the end of the board. Now I've got some decisions to make. And this is where, you know, I kind of like the ability to like trade in startups, because right now my favorite picks on the board are quarterbacks. I do not need quarterbacks. I don't want to hoard quarterbacks. I also can't trade down. I don't want to reach. So it's a tough spot, I think, where I'm sitting at the moment. And that's a testament to you guys, you know, making sharp picks and making me sweat a little bit. So we get Kyron at 4-9, a little bit risky for my taste. Probably a couple running backs that I would have preferred ahead of him. You know, looking at where I have guys ranked here, genuinely my two clear highest ranked players are quarterbacks. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take one of them. And then I'm going to stay away from the position. I don't want to reach, though, too dramatically. So I'm going to go ahead and grab J.J. McCarthy here, who I just touted in the video as a good pick over the rookie 105. And then I think I'm going to go with... Man, this is a tough call. There's nobody here that I love, to be quite honest with you. But I think... Yeah, I'm just going to go with Jonathan Taylor here at 501. You know, kind of a safety pick. Just a guy that's safe, you know, maybe not league winning upside, but at least a guy that I know is going to get a lot of touches, has a high talent floor, at least makes the screenshot look a little bit nicer at the end of the day. Again, if I had to play this back, what I would have liked to do is pass on CJ Stroud, and then I could have gone McCarthy and then another quarterback here that I won't mention just for the sake of, okay, well, there he goes. I would have gone McCarthy and Lawrence there. So I think the best version of this draft is probably Puka. Probably start with Puka, Brian Thomas, and then maybe go Stroud or even Marv at 301, and then go McCarthy and Trevor Lawrence here at this end. But either way, we get Lawrence off the board. I think that's a good pick. We get Travion Henderson pretty high. That's interesting as well. Henderson pretty high here. He goes off as our fourth rookie behind McMillan, and it's been a while since another rookie's come off the board. I suspect we're going to see a few of these guys go in a short while. But first, we're going to get a Jared Goff pick. A lot of people locking up their quarterbacks. Everybody on the right side of the board has at least two quarterbacks. Every single team has at least one quarterback so far. So nobody's going, you know, full punt at the position. And I think that makes sense because there just aren't that many options really after you get through the 5th or 6th round. There's really only a handful of quarterbacks left, and it can be really ugly if you are forced to reach for those guys to make sure that you don't get sniped. So I think that's reasonable. But there goes Cam Ward. We have our first person on auto pick. I hope FP Flex comes back. Okay, he's good. He just ran out of time. Cam Ward, I think that's good value. He's probably going to land in my top 5, probably top 4 of rookie rankings when it's all said and done. I think there's a good chance he actually goes first in the draft, which would be huge. Kenneth Walker goes at 506. That would have been my next running back ranked. In fact, one of our members, T, asked why Taylor over Kenneth Walker. That is simply because I think Taylor's a little bit safer just with the backup situation in Indianapolis, the offensive continuity from one year to the next. I just think that he's a little bit more of like of an insulated asset. So I have them ranked like back to back. But in this case, I wanted to go with Taylor. Dak Prescott, another big value for me at 5.7. I think Austin is kind of just cleaning up here in this draft. Bryce Young at 5'9". Not my favorite quarterback pick. Certainly not my favorite value so far. I'm not huge on Bryce Young. Like, I think he proved last year that he's going to maybe stick around as a starter. I don't know how high his ceiling is. And you look at the situation in Carolina, I mean, they haven't really done anything to help him out and raise his ceiling at all. So I feel like he could have waited maybe another round at least. And there's definitely some rookies on the board now that I would be pushing to draft, you know, if it were my call. To answer the question here, why do we like Kenneth Walker? He's never finished higher than RB18. Yeah, I mean, you know, fantasy finish is certainly one thing we can look at. First of all, I'd say we should probably go to points per game finishes, which are a little bit more predictive of like what is his actual performance on a week-to-week basis. But the reason we like Walker is that he's always been a home run threat as a rusher. He wasn't really used as a receiver his first 2 years, but that changed last season. Clearly something was unlocked with him as a receiver. And you give this team a chance to potentially upgrade the offensive line. You bring in Clint Kubiak, who's going to change up the run scheme, probably use him as a bit of a weapon in the passing game, especially with the lack of depth there. I think there's a lot of reasons to be interested in the upside of a guy like Kenneth Walker. We've had a couple of rookies. Oh, wow. A bunch of rookies come off the board immediately after I made a comment about rookies. We got Judkins at 5'11". Then we have Jacobs, and then Burden 6'01", Tyler Warren 6'2". I think that's good value on Warren. Definitely good value on Warren. Maybe a little bit higher than I'd like to take Judkins or Burden. There's a couple of rookies here that I still prefer over those guys. But, you know, assuming they get the draft capital we're hoping for, I'm not going to be able to turn my nose up at that one too much. Oh, man. Oh, man. Derrick Henry and Jaden Reed. These are not my favorite picks, guys. Derrick Henry, I mean, I just can't. Personally, with a 31-year-old running back, I can't see myself investing a top 65 pick in that type of a player. Just the downside risk, I think, is immense. And then Jaden Reed, I'm not sure we're ever going to see him get, you know, the full route share that we want to see. He's basically a slot wide receiver. He doesn't command targets at an extremely high rate. He's basically a big play reliant type of wide receiver. Maybe his usage can change. I do think he's talented, but kind of going out on a limb there to make that assumption. I would definitely like Worthy over him, who just came off the board. Chase Brown is interesting, certainly has the upside if he can stave off any kind of a rookie addition here. Maybe a little bit risky there in the 6th round, but not terribly so. I think I might need to go for a bit of a home run here to maybe not salvage, maybe that's not the right word, but to, I don't know, kind of juice my draft a little bit. So I'm gonna get a little bit bold here, I think, with one of my picks, or at least one of my picks. We're gonna get a little bit spicy. Just looking down the board of my rankings at who's available, who do I still like here? I think 2 names kind of stick out to me. We'll see what happens at 6'11". Okay, so we go Addison here. Obviously, I'm not looking at quarterback. Would have been happy to go with Warren here if he was available, but he is not. So we're really sticking at wide receiver or running back. I don't have any running backs that are exciting in this range. So it's going to be 2 wide receivers for me. And I think I'm going to take a bit of a home run swing here with my first one. We're going to go with Travis Hunter. Let's live in a universe where he is Drake May's wide receiver 1. I think that sounds like a good time. And then with our next pick, okay, I was looking for DJ Moore. He actually went. We're just going to go double rookies here. We're going to go double rookies here. We're going to go Hunter and Egbuka here at 6'12", 7'1". And we're going to hope the rookies can kind of come through here. Maybe with a mentor like Puka Nacua, these guys can hit the ground running, you know, and really come together here in my wide receiver room. Arlen, I'm always happy to hear that I've sniped the person after me. That always makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I have so much Josh Downs that I hope that you are absolutely right here. And I do think if we switch to Daniel Jones, which will happen at some point during the season, that is going to be a positive for Josh Downs' fantasy value. It might not be quite as good as what we saw with Flacco, just because of the way Flacco plays and his total lack of mobility. It leads to those quick passes underneath. But I genuinely think like Downs could be certainly a very nice flex play with Daniel Jones. And he's a guy I'm still looking to buy low on when I can. All right, looking at the next few picks that came off the board, we did have DK Metcalf, George Kittle, Tyreek Hill. So we are looking at some veterans, like, you know, prime age or a little bit older veterans coming off the board. We also had a couple of another rookie here in Matthew Golden. He comes right before Waddle and Downs. I would prefer both of those guys to Golden personally. I can totally understand re-rolling on a first round rookie wide receiver. I just don't love Golden's profile. I don't love his production. He makes me a little bit nervous. I would like to go for Waddle and Downs, who are both reasonably young, guys that I think are proven talents, and I think can both produce, both can still gain value at this point in their careers. We get Loveland at 7-9. That's going to be, I think, a great value in tight end premium. I think he has a very good chance to go in the first round of the NFL draft, like very high chance, and I think in tight end premium, he should be a clear top 12 rookie pick. I'm gonna like him ahead of Golden as well. And again, yeah, I cannot hate on the Golden pick at all. No question about it. I just think I would have slightly preferred a couple of those other wide receivers, but I can totally understand the value upside case. We get a little mini tight end run here with Njoku coming off right after Loveland, then Hawkinson, and another great value on a couple of rookies here in Shadur Sanders and Caleb Johnson. You know, Sanders being the 20-something quarterback off the board, probably going to go top 5 in the draft, if I had to guess today. I think that's a very, very good pick. It's a little bit reminiscent, I think, of Bo Nix from last year, where like people just weren't excited about him as an option. And so he slid, and he ended up being a really good value in startups even after the NFL draft throughout the summer. People just weren't eager to pick him up. And, you know, Sanders doesn't have the same type of profile as him, probably won't run as much as him, but anytime you get that early first round draft capital at quarterback, that is something worth clicking. Fields, Richardson, Darnold. I think Fields over Richardson. That is the right call. So good call on that, Clax. I agree with you there. Might as well take Fields over Richardson. He's got more investment from his team at this point and more, you know, support from his team than Richardson does right now. Then you have Darnold come off, you know, not my favorite pick at quarterback, maybe not super high upside in this new situation, but probably going to start the whole year. And there's at least some chance that he can carry over that success a little bit into a fairly similar system in Seattle, albeit with much worse personnel. And you guys are absolutely running me up here on the clock. Like I'm going to have to immediately turn around and figure these picks out. I saw a question about Ayuk. I do not even have time to answer it at the moment. All right. You might see me panic here for a second. So let's see. What are we looking at? We got Pickens, McLaurin, Godwin off the board, Evans off the board. So wide receivers are kind of flying here. Jameson Williams. Okay. Kind of saved me from having to go with that pick. Maybe feels a little bit early for that. It was none of the rookies here are appealing to me. All right. Let's see. All right, so we're going to go with maybe I've got enough young guys that I think I can grab a veteran. I'm going to grab Devontae Adams as a veteran wide receiver because I'm probably not going to be able to start 2 rookies right off the bat. And then looking a little bit further down here, you know, there's no tight ends I really want to grab at this point. I could go running back, grab my running back 2. I think I'm just going to take one more wide receiver here. Just add a little bit more depth in Jerry Jeudy. And I have a few guys like ranked in that range. You know, if the Browns end up rolling out Kenny Pickett or Carson Wentz at quarterback, I'm not going to be excited about that for Jerry Jeudy, but maybe they do go ahead and get a Shedeur Sanders. Maybe they sign, I don't know. I mean, Russell Wilson, man, that seems gross. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be tough for Jeudy to really produce. But he did look pretty good last year, finally getting a chance with a fresh start to have a full-time role. And he's going to have a full-time role again this year. You look at their wide receiver depth chart, it's just Jeudy and Cedric Tillman right now. Even if they add in the draft, he's going to be out there a ton. I think the opportunity is there for him. So I'm willing to roll the dice there. We get Trey Harris off the board. That's an interesting pick for the next rookie. I guess I would have him in that next group of rookies, along with Jackson Dart, who just goes. Jackson Dart's very high variance because he could totally go in the first round, but I also wouldn't be that surprised if he just fell to the third round, like we saw the year of Desmond Ridder and Matt Corral. I wouldn't be that surprised if it's all kind of a smokescreen with him, but definitely could see taking the swing. We had some other young guys in McMillan and Shakir. Joe Mixon goes to Austin, who seems to be reading my mind today with all these picks. Waddle, Flowers, Pickens, all from the video yesterday. And then Mixon was who I was considering over Jeudy. Maybe not the most insulated guy because the Texans do need to add a running back. They don't really have anything behind him. He's getting older, and he's much more of a volume merchant than he is a true difference-making talent. But when you can swing on a guy who has high-end RB2 upside in the 9th round, I think that's totally fine. You get a couple more tight ends here in Tucker Kraft. Dalton Kincaid, man, I don't think you need to make that pick there after you already grabbed Loveland. I just don't know what you're getting there with Kincaid. I'm kind of out on him. If you listen to the Dynasty points from this week with Max Toscano, who's a bit of a tight end guru, he talks a lot about how tight ends kind of earn themselves playing time and how they can earn these big roles. And I just don't think Kincaid really has what it takes to be that guy in the league right now. I'm kind of worried about him ever really taking that next step. I think he's going to be stuck platooning with a Dawson Knox type of guy pretty much for the foreseeable future. So I don't know what the upside is for him. We get Pearsall at 9.10, Kamara at 9.11. Those are good picks. I do like those. I'm going to try to get a little bit ahead of the clock here and maybe think about my next picks before I'm already on the clock. Michael Pittman, and then a really high upside swing at QB3 in Jalen Milroe. I like that here for Zaper. I don't know. He could get that second round capital. Dude runs insanely fast. Kind of a Anthony Richardson light type of guy, potentially. And you already have those two, solid quarterbacks locked up. So maybe you can afford to kind of take a swing on him. We got Debo, Sutton, Tracy, Tank Dell. Man, I love the faith in Tank Dell, but I don't think he's going to play at all this year, at all, because he just got his surgery a few weeks ago. So I think you could wait on that pick a good bit. Accountant, my answer here, Travis Hunter for sure would be my pick, especially with the latest reports that he's more likely to be viewed as a wide receiver. I think that is the clear way to go. I'm very, very high on Hunter at this point. All right, let's see what I can do here. Okay, I was looking at David Montgomery. He actually went a little while ago. And that's okay. I have a few guys that I'm interested in here. Warren would have been a good one for me. Austin, again. I'm not letting Austin in the next mock draft because he's driving me insane right now. Mixon and Warren are such good picks. Yeah, he's rocking this draft. He's got Murray and Prescott as a really nice value tandem of quarterbacks. Barkley, Mixon, Warren is kind of a great running back room. And then Jefferson, Collins, Flowers, Waddle, Pickens. That's a ton of young upside at wide receiver. Man, if he can just land this thing with tight end, he is cruising. We get Stafford, another quarterback going here in the 10th. We're pretty dried up at quarterback. He's a nice stopgap that you can take pretty late. Then we get Andrews, Keon. Looking at my rankings here, definitely starting to dry up. We're getting kind of into the mid to late second round range. And a lot of the rookies here are very speculative, which can make it a little bit scary. But definitely some guys I'm interested in. I'm just trying to queue up some names. Okay, and I'm back on the clock. So we get Connor and ETN. And just looking at how I have it ranked, like all the players that are left for me are guys that I would view as mid seconds or later, with maybe one or two exceptions. So like more than likely I'd be going rookies here. It's just hard going actual rookies rather than picks. So what I'm going to do here with my first one is I'm going to go ahead and grab one more veteran wide receiver in Jawan Jennings, who I'm a big fan of this year. Think he has the potential to lead the Niners in targets, at least amongst wide receivers. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and look at a young player, maybe a rookie here, who I think is worth the swing considering the other options and the other running backs on the board. I'm going to go ahead and grab Cam Scatabo at 1101. Good chance, in my opinion, to go on day 2. You know, maybe he's too slow to work in the NFL, but I saw a good tweet the other day that I thought was fun, which is, you know, if Bucky Irving and Kyron Williams can be small and slow and good, why can't Cam Scatabo be big and slow and good, right? Why not? Certainly could have gone with another wide receiver there. There's a couple guys I like, but don't have an RB2. Why not take a swing on basically, you know, my next favorite rookie running back of the options available? Potentially a second round pick, you know, who knows? Who's to say? Uncle Fresh, despite the fact that he's the last one available on the board here, I would be going Jacoby Myers over Pittman or Debo. That would be my official stance. I like Jacoby Myers a lot. I think he's underrated. I almost took him there with Jennings. I almost went with 6 straight wide receivers, but I decided to skip him there. So I bet Austin's going to pick him right now. Nope. He went with his tight end. Finally grabbed his tight end in Jonnu Smith. That is a high upside selection. You think about how Jonnu Smith ended last year with that ridiculous run of like nearly 20 points per game in tight end premium. Reaper scoops up the nice value on Jacoby Myers. I have not loved his draft a lot of the way through, but I love the Myers pick along with the Genty pick. So that's a pretty good one, I think. Clax follows that up with a solid pick of Ramondre Stevenson. I'm starting to get a little bit of like the heebie-jeebies with him that they're going to go add somebody. I'm just not sure how much they actually like employing him as their starting running back. I just don't know if they have a lot of options given how recently they extended him. So that's going to be an interesting thing to keep track of. Now I have a nice little target here that I'd like to get back around to me if nobody could snipe him. Definitely wasn't Najee Harris, but I think that's a reasonable pick for sure. I actually have 2 guys I'd really like to get. If you guys, this is my channel, okay? And, you know, ultimately, it's all about me looking good, having a nice draft. So if you guys could just, like, let me get my guy, I'd appreciate it. I'm realizing right now that I'm going to be in a tough spot at tight end. It is really getting thin out there. Certainly not a rookie I'm interested in investing in. But I'm totally fine punting a position in a startup. You know, it's fine to just punt a position and then know that you can handle it later. So we get Kyle Pitts, we get Jake Ferguson off the board. Not exciting guys for me. I actually think I prefer Ferguson to Pitts at this point. I think he's going to be the starter for Dallas, and we've seen a little bit more proof of concept with him lately that he's going to be involved. But, you know, neither of them are going to be, at this point, I don't think either of them are going to be winning you a league at tight end, but they can get you by on a week-to-week basis. We have some rookies kind of trickling off the board here in Devin Neal, Dylan Sampson, Isaiah Bond. This is a really tricky spot to be picking rookies at this time because there's a lot of variance with like who's going to go earlier than we think, who's going to go later than we think. Some of these rookies that we take in this range are going to fall to day 3, might not ever even be relevant. Like, it's totally possible that some of these guys, maybe, you know, Dylan Sampson might never be relevant in fantasy, but it's also high upside to go and swing. Come on, Austin. Can you please stop taking my players? You have a tight end already. Okay. Well, guess I'm not getting my tight end this round. And I'm not getting Pollard. And okay, are you guys serious? Are you looking at my queue right now? My literal next three guys were Isaiah Likely, Tony Pollard, Jaden Higgins. Like you can't even make this stuff up. Those are my literal next three picks. All three of those guys. Okay. All right. We're going to pivot. We are going to pivot. Who is even left that I want to draft? That's crazy, dude. Just let me get one of them, man. Likely Pollard and Higgins off the board is crazy. Okay. All right. There's like nothing here that I want to draft. There's just absolutely nothing here. This is a wasteland. This is where my pick would be going on the block so fast. Like I'm out of here, guys. I'm moving on. All right. So we get Cole Kmet going, K-Dot, and people are absolutely feeling the squeeze a little bit at tight end. I'm going to maybe make a little bit of a gross pick, but I think it's reasonable at this point. I think he's fallen far enough that it's like, maybe we just take the shot that he's still a starting running back, right? Like he does play for one of the better teams in the league. Like, can Isaiah Pacheco, can he just hold off a replacement, right? For one off season? I think at the 12th pick of the 12th round, 144th off the board, I think that we can take a swing on Pacheco, maybe getting healthy off of a broken leg and being impactful in 2025. And then I'm going to take another rookie wide receiver here that I think could go in the second round. Alec Ayomanor. I like him a decent bit. They talked about him on Dynasty points as well. Max Toscano is a fan of Ayomanor as well. Thinks he has a little bit of Puka Nacua to his game. Not to say that he's like that good of a player, but in terms of how he can be used as a blocker and very versatile in different spots, I think that is a guy who could be liked a lot by NFL teams and at least get the draft capital, have some safe value, right? So I'm still sitting here with 2 picks to go. I have no tight end. I don't know if I'm going to draft one. We'll see. Again, I don't care if I have to just punt a position entirely. I'll go get the cheapest guy on the board, or I'll go trade for somebody later. I'd love to have a nice looking screenshot here on the left side with my lineup, but I'll do what I have to do. Dynasty Dave, I appreciate the love. I was a little bit worried as well about my wide receivers, but I think that I saved it. I appreciate that. We get Jalen Coker. Okay, love that pick. Jalen Coker and some nice rookie picks in Restrepo and Ollie Gordon. Like those guys. Interesting picks. Gordon, I'm a little bit worried, is going to fall to day 3, which is going to make him a little bit less enticing here at this range of the draft. And then Austin, man, with another masterful move, Derek Carr, getting him 3 rounds after these other quarterbacks. Like, he's going to start this year. The Saints have no choice. He is just sort of Mr. Reliable. He's just going to be that steady guy you can plug in on bye weeks. I think that's a good pick. People are really trying to tip my hand here as far as tight end picks. Maybe just keep it to yourself, huh? How about that? Don't spoil it. I'm going to look through my list here and see what's appealing. I have a couple names that I like, to be honest. All right, we get Calvin Ridley, Xavier Legette, Rashid Shaheed. These are some, like, you're taking a shot on a wide receiver 2 type to maybe take a step forward, or with Ridley to just sort of survive another year. He's getting a little bit older, but showed flashes last year for sure, even with bad quarterback play. He could return value. I think Cam Ward to the Titans, that would be a nice fit with Calvin Ridley and what he does well. And I think it is very possible that Ward still goes 101. We get Tank Bigsby, Cedric Tillman. These are solid darts that you can start throwing here in the 12th, 13th, 14th round. You're just searching for upside, really. There are some rookies I like still on the board. Some guys that are like probably deep enough that I wouldn't necessarily take them in the top 15 rounds. But we shall see. All right, we get another tight end off the board in Goddard. Then we get some more rookies. Damian Martinez, Savion Williams. these are some deep cuts where like, I don't know, I don't have the guts to like call my shot on these rookies this early. There's definitely upside there for that to pay off if they get drafted higher than we think. I also think that there's such a high risk of them just falling completely off the radar, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th round, and then never really returning value for you here. So it makes me nervous. Some like safer rookies that I'd be looking at here. I'm coming up here in a couple of picks. This is a really tough spot for tight ends, I think. Or really a lot of positions. Did we get a... Oh, okay. Christian Kirk went. I was going to say I would have really liked Christian Kirk. That's a good value for Chris on Kirk. He's going to be a nice PPR scam, I think, for the Texans, especially if they refuse to pass protect this year, because Stroud's just going to be dumping it off immediately to Christian Kirk. So let's see here. Okay, Rachaad White and then Arlen. I think he did that just to troll me, taking Brenton Strange. Joke's on him. I was never going to take Brenton Strange. That was not going to be my pick at this spot. I would definitely take Brenton Strange in a couple rounds. Maybe even next round I would have taken him. But there's a couple guys I still like here ahead of him. I've got my queue set up here with my next guy. I'll go ahead and take him. I'm gonna take a swing on one more rookie wide receiver. You know, this might be like maybe it could be a productive struggle year for me if things don't go well with these rookie wide receivers. That's all right. I don't mind it. But you know what? Just to complete the team. Just to complete the team and make the screenshot look a little bit nicer, let's take the old man. Let's go ahead and take Travis Kelce. Round 15 of the startup. Obviously, 1 year left is the most likely outcome. But I think that I think it could be a success. I'm not sure what's going on with the stream, guys. I'm sorry if it's cutting out at all. I don't really know why it would be doing that. Let me try to free up some space here, some RAM for myself. Let me close out a couple of tabs or something. All right. So then we're in the last round here. I don't know actually what happens when it finishes. Hopefully it just stays on the screen so that I can talk about it. But we've got a couple more rookies. Tez Johnson and Ty Felton, Harold Fannin. Those are some really deep cuts for sure. There's a couple guys I would have liked better, some running backs, I think, that I would swing on. Guys like DJ Giddens. Well, actually, he might be the... Giddens, and then did Tootin go? Okay, Tootin went. Yeah, so maybe Giddens is the only real rookie left that I would have had a lot of interest in at this point in the process. Maybe he'll go here in the last few picks. Then we have some sneaky guys in Milton. Aaron Rodgers probably going to sign somewhere, you know, can be a fill-in guy, maybe a guy you can flip in season for a little bit extra. And then we close things out with, okay, that's a bizarre pick. Chris, if you're in the chat, let us know what you were doing there with Zach Wilson. Is that like a misclick? Do you know something that we don't? Are you banking on Tua getting another concussion? You're going to have to let me know what you're thinking there with Zach Wilson. Draft ends with Mason Taylor as a tight end. I actually think I like Taylor maybe even ahead of Fannin at this point. Think that's an interesting pick there. And then again, Joe Milton. The way I see Milton is there's probably like a 75% chance that he's just Drake May's backup, which is still a super worthwhile player to roster in Dynasty. Like he's going to have a lot of contingent upside if there's an injury. But there's also probably like a 25% chance that sometime between now and July, he gets traded to another team that wants to play him. And if that happens, you're basically getting like a free swing at an Anthony Richardson type of guy with the super high athleticism, you know, good bit of rushing ability and a cannon for an arm. So I think that is a high upside pick that is totally worth making. Maybe I'd wait a round or two just based on the ADP, but totally fine. Again, a couple rookies that I had written down. You guys mostly cleaned them out. DJ Giddens, I think, is interesting. Maybe Jack Beck or Jack Besh. however you say that. I didn't actually write down any deeper rookies than that. You guys pretty much cleared out all the ones that I was considering. And then just looking at the available players, you've got Freiermuth would have been my next tight end off the board. You know, it's pretty cleaned out. You know, Javonte Williams, maybe take a swing on A.D. Mitchell in year 2. Take Kirk Cousins. I'd probably take Kirk Cousins over Zach Wilson. That's for sure. I think Kirk Cousins has a good shot to be starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in about a month and a half. If you want to take a swing on a year 2 breakout tight end, you could go Ben Sinnott or Jatavian Sanders. So, you know, there's still some names worth swinging on. You can take some veterans like Keenan Allen, who are probably going to sign somewhere, maybe have a little bit of flex appeal. Dontavian Wicks, if that's your thing. I just drafted him in a startup in like the 18th or 19th round. You know, maybe he can actually learn how to catch this offseason. But let's take a look at these teams. Cortrix asks, Palmer or Winston? Absolutely Jameis Winston. So by miles and miles. I would trade 100 Josh Palmers for Jameis Winston. Josh Palmer is worthless in Dynasty, in my opinion. I don't think he's even worth the bench spot, personally. I like Jameis, though. Great guy that you could start the season off with, especially if you have like a Shadur Sanders or a Jackson Dart or something. Maybe he can bridge the gap for you there. Probably going to be throwing the ball a lot. And of course, Austin wants to hear some best and worst teams. The worst team is definitely Austin's team because he took all the players that I wanted. So his team sucks, and I definitely don't like it. Let me see. Can I highlight that? There we go. Austin's team. No, I genuinely think he had a great draft. Jefferson, Nico, Barkley, Murray, Prescott, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, Jonnu Smith, Isaiah Likely, Derek Carr, Spears, and Swift. He's got a really strong starting lineup all across the board. He's got that upside in Isaiah Likely at tight end. Good, cheap QB3 option in Carr. I think he pretty much executed this thing to perfection. Sucks to not have any rookies just for the fun of it, but he's got plenty of youth here, so he's not like, you know, he's not rolling out a geriatric team. Looking at some of these other ones, I don't want to pick on people and like say, you know, you have the worst draft. That seems kind of mean. I will point out some of my least favorite picks. I did talk about some of them at the time. I think Kincaid and Pitts are both very overrated at this point. Kincaid more so, clearly, because he goes 2 rounds ahead in this draft. But I don't love that. I don't love those picks. I think they feel like a little bit of like desperation for those guys to break out when it just doesn't seem likely at this point. In fact, I like Isaiah Likely over both those guys personally. I don't love some of these later rookie picks just with the you know, a little bit nervous about some of these players. Like a Felton. I think Tez Johnson is almost totally dead to be fantasy relevant at his size. I just don't think you can play wide receiver in the NFL at 155 pounds and really have an impact. Like I think that's a really big stretch. I didn't talk about the Jordan Mason pick. I really like this one. That's a great upside swing on a guy who is going to be Aaron Jones' backup. And the fact that you drafted him with Aaron Jones is pretty sharp, I think. Along with Jalen Coker. I like this team a good bit. You get Lamb, Brown, Love as a good value quarterback in the 3rd. Kyron isn't my favorite pick. I would have gone Taylor there or Walker over him, personally. But can't argue with his product on the field. Goff as your QB2 is fine. You know, I prefer Ward and Prescott, but he's fine there. Good value on DJ Moore. You take the shot on Tyreek Hill, maybe giving you one more really good season. Montgomery is a solid RB2. Jackson Dart is that upside QB3. And then you get Andrews and Ingram. One of those two probably going to be a usable weekly tight end option. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, lock up the Minnesota backfield. And then you get Coker and Jalen Royals, some kind of upside wide receiver swing. So I think that's a good looking team. Fern here asked me about team 8. I guess that's his spot. I didn't put that together here, but I'm assuming that's his spot. So he goes Hurts, which I think Hurts at 8 is one of the better values you can get in the first round at this point. Brian Thomas at 2.5, another great value. I think he's, you know, in the same tier as Neighbors, who went 110. So that's an awesome start. Now, I don't love the next 2 picks. Hampton and Smith both feel like a little bit of a reach for me. If Hampton goes first round to like Dallas at 12, then I'm going to feel differently. But I think there's still at least some odds that he doesn't go first round, or maybe he does land on a team that has another running back. Who's to say? I just don't feel quite strong enough about him as I do with Genty that he's just going to immediately steamroll anybody that's on a team with him. So maybe a little bit earlier. I would still take Barkley over Hampton, I think. Well, it's a coin flip, I guess. Devonta Smith at 4.8, maybe a little bit early for my taste. Looking at the other wide receivers there, I think I like Olave over Devonta Smith just due to his age, and I think he has a little bit more upside because he's not on as much of a run heavy team. He's not playing with an AJ Brown. So Smith feels like a little bit of like a floor pick, which isn't what I'm looking to do in the 4th round. Ward is a great value in my opinion there. Arguably the 101 in the NFL draft. Good value on Worthy. Again, not my favorite pick in Golden, but I understand the thought process there. I like the Godwin pick. I like the Geno pick. Loved the Jaden Higgins pick. I'm just going to ignore Keon Coleman and pretend he's not on your team. And then, close out with a couple shots at tight end because you don't have anybody. I think that's fine. Guys, I see you're all asking for thoughts on your teams. I don't know if I'm going to go through every single team and every single pick, but I'll do my best. I did want to answer this question first from, I don't even know how to say that, Endurazak. How do we feel about Tyrone Tracy's odds of getting replaced in the draft? I think his odds of getting replaced in the draft are pretty low. I don't think the Giants are likely to invest a round 1 or round 2 pick in a running back. And I think a round 3, round 4, round 5 pick, I don't think that's a running back that's going to come in and just push Tracy out of the way. But what I do think is that running back could totally come in and take on a larger workload than we saw from like Devin Singletary last year. And if you have Tracy splitting a backfield, down the middle or 55-45 with another running back, I don't think that the New York Giants are going to be enough of a powerhouse offense to make him very relevant. And I don't think he's enough of a difference maker on his own to do that. So I think for him to really hit, he needs to be getting the bulk of the work. And I don't know, I'd say there's probably like a 50% chance that we see the Giants try to upgrade their backfield at some point in the draft. So there's some risk there. I definitely think he was a good pick where he went in the 10th round. I've seen him go as high as the early 8th. That's crazy to me. But here, he goes after Trey Harris, he goes after McMillan, after Dalton Kincaid and Pearsall and Pittman and Milrow. Like you're well into, either lower upside type starters at that point or like swinging on rookies that are pretty unknown. So I think that's a totally fine pick for Tracy. Not that it was your pick, but whoever, the person who took him. Cortrix wants to know about his team 10. Let's talk about 10. We go Neighbors, Herbert, Harrison, Mayfield. That's a little earlier than I'd like to take Herbert. I love the talent on him, but I just don't think he separates maybe enough from the like Kyler, Dak, McCarthy, Lawrence group to justify taking him 2 rounds earlier. I still like the wide receivers there over him. Brian Thomas, Amon-Ra. I like those guys ahead of Herbert. And I'd be interested to see what this draft looks like if you go one of the wide receivers there and then maybe go quarterback at 5-3. But Neighbors, Herbert, Harrison, Mayfield. It's a personal preference for me with Mayfield, I guess. I much rather have McCarthy or Lawrence personally, and I know that sounds crazy after what he did last year. I just do not think he's repeating that type of touchdown upside. Liam Cohn is gone. I think he's much more of a low-end QB1 type of quarterback. And so if that's the case, I'd rather swing on the value upside of these younger players that I think can take a big step forward. So that's how I kind of feel about that. But looking at the rest of this team, Hubbard and Kittle, those are nice veteran picks. Evans too. Good veteran picks that can really raise your scoring potential in year 1. Hubbard could potentially give you multiple years. Kittle could potentially give you multiple years. Who's to say? Grab a little bit more youth in McMillan and Benson, then James Conner. I guess having Conner and Benson is better. I don't know how much I have faith. Oh, there goes my stupid camera. Why does it keep doing that? I'm gonna need to change the settings there on that camera because it tends to like go to sleep after about an hour, and that is no good for live streams. Anyway, sorry, picking up on that. I don't love Benson. I don't think he showed enough as a rookie, and the track record of guys who get such little work in year one is not very strong for the future. So that kind of makes me nervous, but I can see how he could be the logical handcuff to Connor. Excuse me. Cole Kmet's an interesting pick with Ben Johnson coming in. He could take on more of a Laporta type of role. I don't think he's as good as Laporta, but he could take on more of that type of role. Maybe they could use him a little bit better. Keenan Allen being gone, maybe that opens up more room for him in those shorter A-dot areas of the field. Restrepo, good pick. And then, I don't know, Rashad White and Ty Felton, they kind of feel like throwaways to me. I just don't see Felton going in the first 3 rounds. I could be wrong about that, but if he's a day 3 wide receiver pick, I'm just not going to have much interest. Rashad White's fine, I suppose. He's going to be probably the backup to Bucky. He's cost controlled. He is at least versatile, if not exciting. So I think they could just roll with him as the backup. But yeah, I mean, maybe some higher upside swings on the board that you could take. I probably would go DeAndre Swift over Rashad White. Like, he at least has a chance to be a starter. Jordan Mason is another backup that I think is more talented, going to be in a better running game or a better environment. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't love the Rashad White pick. And then the 7th team, his mighty shield, I guess, is Chris Mazza here at 7. So let me take a look here. He goes Burrow at 7. That's totally fine. I prefer Hurts, but I think it's a preference thing. McBride at 206 in tight end premium is a good pick. I like locking down that position. And then you get JSN and Rome Odunze, some upside wide receivers. Let me see at this pick with Odunze. I think this is the right spot for him. You already have Tet off the board, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins. I don't think there's anybody left on the board at wide receiver that I'd be taking over Odunze. So I think that's fair there at 7. And then I like the Kenneth Walker pick. Nervous on Chase Brown, but I see the upside. Tua is kind of an ideal QB2 to get to. I think, let's say this. I think the Tua hate has gone a little bit too far when he is functionally the same as like a Jared Goff type of quarterback, certainly as Bryce Young, going 2 rounds after them. I understand the concussions are concerning, but there's no indication that he is expecting his career to be cut short. The team is not acting as if he is a high risk. Like, bringing in Zach Wilson as his backup doesn't scream that they're super concerned. So I think getting to 2 rounds after those other quarterbacks is kind of sick value. You go Terry McLaurin and Khalil Shakir, reasonable values on those guys. Stafford as your QB3 seems great. Charbonnet, Pollard, Ollie Gordon. Pollard especially is a good value pick there. Here's the thing about Pollard that's interesting. The Titans have the first pick, the 35th pick. I think we can all agree those are very unlikely to be running backs. Their next pick isn't until 104 or something. It's in the 4th round. I think this team is probably going to ride with Pollard and Spears at running back and not add anybody else, and that is good for Pollard. That is very good for Pollard because I think they view Spears as a complementary piece. Pollard's going to get the goal line work. He's going to get the bulk of the carries. He's still good. Like, he was good he was actually better last year than he was his last year in Dallas because he was a year removed from that leg injury that he suffered. So I think he's a pretty solid value pick. 2 rounds after James Conner, I think they could be kind of similar type of running back picks this year. Ollie Gordon in the 13th, Mims, and then Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you really needed to swing on Rodgers here because you already have 3 quarterbacks and he doesn't really have any value upside. I don't think Rodgers is going to have a lot of resale value. So I think it's a fine pick if you need the quarterback 3 and you just want to lock that up for cheap. I don't know if taking Rodgers to then flip him later is great because it's going to be a very specific person that needs Rodgers. And again, my camera is going out. If you guys could stick with me for a minute, we are going to close this thing out. So just don't go anywhere. I'm going to fix this real quick. clearly I don't know how to use technology. I've only owned this camera for a couple months. And I'm not really sure why it's doing this. Anyway, let's wrap this thing up, guys. Hey, first of all, thanks a lot to those of you guys that jumped into the draft. You created the content here. Thank you for participating. And if this was something you guys enjoyed, I would love to do this again. I thought it was really fun to do the draft, do it live and talk about it, see how these teams come together. And it's a great way to get a look at what the market is doing right now. So just to close things out, I'm going to review my own draft and then we're going to get out of here. Just want to take a look at how things turned out for me. Maybe not how I would have drawn it up ideally, but I ended up going with Mahomes at quarterback along with CJ Stroud and JJ McCarthy. Definitely my position of strength. 3 of my first 4 picks at quarterback. Running backs are one of my biggest weaknesses here. You have Taylor to kind of lock down that RB1 spot, and then it's going to be Scatabo and Pacheco are my only running backs at the moment. So I'm going to have to address that, in the offseason somehow. If this was a real league, I'd have to send out some offers. Wide receiver, I think, did turn out pretty good with Puka as the anchor pick there at 201, and then a good mix, in my opinion, of veteran production and upside and rookies. We have Hunter and Egbuka, Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, Jawan Jennings, Alec Ayomanor, and Jalen Noel. So 4 rookies, 3 veterans, 1 guy in Adams who I think could be very productive this year. And then at tight end, it's just Travis Kelce for now. I'd look at somebody like a Freiermuth later in the draft, Mike Gesicki, Hunter Henry, maybe, supplement the draft depth with someone like that. Maybe a Zach Ertz really late. But Kelce's going to be startable. He's not going to be the guy he used to be, but he's going to be startable, probably outscore a number of these guys that went before him, just with the caveat that this is probably his last season. So not a lot of upside there. But that's going to do it for us, guys. I'm going to go back here to the main screen. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. If you guys are not in the Discord yet, you can find actual leagues in there. If you want to go to the description, join the Discord. While you're at it, might as well just become a member. Then you can get in the members chat too. You can check out the rankings, check out the live streams. Feel free to private message me if you want more information about that, or even just tag me in the chat or whatever. That's totally fine. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Have a great rest of your Saturday, rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you all very soon.